Hello, I'm Nick. Welcome to my channel. I'm a casual recreational disc golfer who runs a YouTube channel, and I wanted to chime in on the recent power grip discussion that Dylan from Iceberg TV started with Josh from Overthrow Disc Golf. Scott Stokely also made a video on this, and I wanted to talk about disc golf grips in a way that provides context. But first, a disclaimer. I'm not here to settle any debates. I'm not here to teach per se. But I do, however, want to run some ideas by you in this video. As you know, this is more of a disc golf vlog channel than anything. You know, I do solo rounds, scramble rounds, doubles, triples, and other team matches, challenges, disc reviews, and comparisons. And sometimes I show what I'm trying to do to get better at throwing. So I'm not here to lecture anyone. That said, I do think I have something to add to the discussion. With that disclaimer aside, let's get started. Now, personally speaking, I think the front-loaded, pinched power grip is the best way to grip the disc in order to throw it the farthest as well as the fastest. This is the grip I've used in the past, but I've tried other grips, and until recently this is what works for me until I experimented due to this debate. However, I'm willing to experiment to see if I can find a better grip now that there's been a debate with competing perspectives, and that's made me rethink some things. So thank you to everyone who's made videos on this. You've affected at least one person, and by the looks of the view counts, you've affected a lot of people. I think you start from that pinched power grip, the front-loaded grip, and you work your way along a spectrum of grips to what is most comfortable for you. I think this lines up with what Josh from Overthrow teaches, and I think this is very close to what Scott Stokely teaches, even though I don't know what grip that they teach first and how they guide people to adjust their grips. I'm not, part of that. That's why I'm making this video. I want to make a few assertions and then try to flesh out my arguments here, or at least my talking points, along this debate that has been started by others. So first things first, I'm asserting that one grip is where you start from and you experiment until you find the best grip for you. You can start anywhere, but I assume people want to prioritize distance first and then accuracy. Not that they don't care about one over the other, or one but not the other, but they care about both, but they prioritize. That said, they could start at the other extreme and work, from the fan grip to the power grip, etc., etc. Or they can start in the middle at some arbitrary point and experiment from there. But in a world of many different grips based on individual hand size and their joints and levers, from their fingers down to their toes, people need to find what works best for them. I also assert that you can use different grips for different situations or even different molds or discs. So, for example, you might hold a putter differently than you do a driver. You might hold them the same but make certain adjustments based on the rim of the flight plate. I assert comfort is more important than performance because ultimately an uncomfortable grip can lead to injury, and I don't think anyone wants that. So I think you want the most comfortable grip or a range of grips that you can throw with, and beyond a certain point, it's not worth changing. So to summarize, I assert people want to get the most distance they can as accurately as possible. They need at least one grip, but should consider other grips situationally, and most importantly, they need a comfortable grip. Now let's talk about some disc golf terminology. This is a discussion on biomechanics, specifically the mechanical principles applied to the human body. We're using our levers and our hinges to move these discs through space as accurately as we can to the distances that we want or need, not necessarily the max distance. And with that said, there's two aspects I want to talk about: force and torque. We want to apply as much force and torque on a disc to get it to travel as far as it can, as efficiently and as effectively as possible. It has to be fast enough, and it has to spin fast enough to remain on a trajectory that we want it to travel on. It's common knowledge that the power grip provides more distance and the fan grip provides more control. I think you can have a modified power grip and a modified fan grip. And I don't know what it's called in between those, but I'm sure there are a lot of other variations that I don't cover here in general. But this isn't intended to be the most detailed and inclusive video on grip. I just want to contextualize the grip debate. So I assert there's a spectrum of grips with a pure power grip on one extreme and a pure fan grip on the other extreme. And between those are a set of modified grips, and I believe they fall under a mix of power and fan grips. Generally speaking, you want three things with your grip. You need a comfortable grip so that you can consistently throw with it over time. You need a clean release to minimize disc wobble. You need an effective grip so the disc does what you expect it to. When you can hold the disc in a pure power grip, you can get only so much control, and there's a greater risk the disc can inadvertently change its angle during the swing, leading to an improper release. When you hold the disc in a pure fan grip, you get maximum control, but there's a greater risk that the power from the swing is reduced and the torque imparted from the release is diminished, so you're leaking power. That's why a lot of people modify their grip to find a balance of both distance and accuracy. Maybe they get more power and enough control, or they get more control and enough power. Or they're min-maxing the efficiency from both throws into a well-rounded grip for the majority of their throws with that one grip, and maybe trying another grip for touch shots that's more fanned, and maybe one that's more, of a power grip for max distance. That's the great thing about this grip debate. Individuals will adjust their grip to what they need, and that's fine. I'm not here to teach you one grip is better, rather that you find the grip that you want, and you should try different ones, test a variety of grips until you find the ones that work best for you. Narrow it down. Let me give you some other things to think about. Putters are harder to power grip, and drivers are typically easier, whereas when you're dealing with the fan grip, drivers are typically harder and putters are typically easier. Mid-ranges and small-rimmed fairway drivers might work best for modified grips. That's generally what I'm finding out in my experimentation, and logically that seems to follow. But again, individual hands differ, and you're going to have to find what works for you. That said, I do believe the power grip is the most powerful grip, mechanically speaking, but it's not for everyone. I believe the fan grip gives the most control, but you might need a fan grip that gives you the distance you want for the accuracy that you need. And ultimately, you have to deal with your hand's design, and I don't think anyone can tell you what's best for you. Now let's get to some fine details. The pivot point that Josh from Overthrow Disc Golf talks about is called a fulcrum. That's one function. He specifically outlines two general methods of loading the disc in the hand, front loading or mid loading. And mid-loading is sometimes conflated with back-loading, but for the sake of clarity, I'll show you what they look like. The front-loaded position, you can basically take your pinky and the next finger off the rim, and it won't fundamentally change how it sits in your hand. The back-loaded position, on the other extreme, you can basically take your index or pointer finger off the rim, and it won't significantly change the disc position. However, there's a difference in how effective these are for distance and control, and I posit the mid-loaded position, where all fingers are pressed against the rim with force fairly even. I think it provides the greatest range of control, and I think it provides a baseline of distance that can't be reached with the back-loaded position. But it may be comparable to what you can achieve with the front-loaded position if you're able to get the loading right, in tandem with the rest of the grip in terms of power and efficiency. Josh talked about another function, which he didn't name, which is effectively power or distance versus fan, the fan grip, for accuracy. And I don't know specifically what he calls that function, and I'm not going to attempt to put words in his mouth, but the power versus fan grip function, whatever that's called, with the loading function, which is the back, mid, or front loaded function, those two functions are what you want to think about when you grab a disc and you want to throw it. You want the best grip that provides smooth, consistent, accurate release, and you can choose from 4 basic categories I suggest along that spectrum: the power grip, modified fan grip, and then a fan grip on the other extreme. Fingertips touching the flight plate in a traditional power grip. A modified power grip has the finger pads touching the plate, and then it goes on, from the modified fan grip to the fan grip. I think you need to think about your grip and see if you're happy with it now, or maybe if you can try to change something on it, make something different about how you hold the disc, just some sort of slight change, and see if it works better for you. And you're going to have to test that out on a field. If it's closer to a power grip, maybe a modified power grip is for you. If you have a more traditional fan grip, maybe a modified fan grip might get you more distance, yet you retain the control that you want. A mix between a power and fan grip should allow you to prevent the disc from ripping out of your hand early or moving up or down easily, like changing the nose angle, etc., etc. You might want to compromise. There is a law of diminishing returns on either extreme, so that's why you want to compromise to min-max both. Maybe 60% of power and 60% of control is better than 90% power and 10% control, or just 100% power and practically no good control. So you want to find a good mix of the both, in my opinion. As I start to wrap this up, I want to talk about certain specifics that fall outside those two functions. First of all, if your thumb is towards the inside of the flight plate and it's not opposite your index or pointer finger, in other words, they're not parallel with each other along the flight plate, that is technically not a pinch grip. The desire to produce a fulcrum between your thumb and your forefinger is only achieved with a pinch grip. That's not to say that a grip that doesn't pinch these two is ineffective, but those two no longer create the pivot point. This won't prevent the arm and wrist from generating spin on the disc when it releases, but at least in theory, the presumption is that maximal torque is not created without that pivot or fulcrum. Second, Dylan, Josh, and Scott argue the term power grip may not be the most accurate term. They all three touch on that or make an argument to that effect. But I think it's still probably more powerful than the fan grip, but that's not to say you can't generate power and torque without the pinch grip per se. So that outlier that's not within those two functions. But there's likely a law of diminishing returns on having enough spin, and then you misrelease because you didn't grip the disc well enough to have the control you need. Also, the other thing that's outside those two functions, the power grip isn't fake, in my opinion. Even at the finger's most extreme positioning, it's arguably not the best grip for a lot of people, and they may want to experiment until they find the one that they want. I've personally settled on a modified power grip from my original traditional power grip, and this modified power grip appears to give me the same distance that I've been getting, but more control. So I'm running with that until I feel I can do much better with another grip. That wraps up my video on this grip debate. I hope that you liked the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, as I have more unique disc golf videos on the way. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.